All right, y'all, welcome back to the channel. I'm Texas Dad, and we have a lot of new subscribers, so I'm going to do a quick introduction. This is my son, Matt.
Hello.
And we are a large family that strategically relocated to Texas 8 years ago. We live on a little 5-acre homestead here in Texas, and we have a small ranch with some cows. And it is our hope and desire to develop a more holistic life, living in tune with God's creation as He designed it for us. And we want to encourage others to do the same. That's kind of really the purpose and the reason for this channel. And we are picking back up with our farmer warning series. And today we have a Canadian farmer. And so we're going to do this video watch along, and for those of you unfamiliar with this format, we watch a video that is available in its entirety.
And we leave it in the description down below.
We'll leave the link.
Non-interrupted.
Yeah, uninterrupted. So if we're annoying, please go and watch the other video on its own. And if that helps you, or if your personality type prefers that, that's your prerogative, so please go ahead and do that. We have many different types and styles of videos, and we look at it as like an a la carte channel. Watch the videos you like. Don't watch the videos you don't like. And if you don't like us, please stay away. And there's billions of YouTube channels, so go watch something else.
That's true.
Let's get started with this watch along, a warning from a Canadian farmer.
Quick Dick McDick coming to you from Saskatchewan here, and today we will be talking about agriculture. Now, for those of you that don't know, October is Agriculture Month here in Saskatchewan, where we as producers try and take some extra time to get the story out to everybody out there of how we produce food and get it to the world. And nowadays, with a plethora of people trying to switch over to a plant-based or synthetic protein source in their diet to save the environment, I want to talk to you for a minute about cattle and the environment. Now, this is the Bar R Ranch. It's one of thousands of mixed farming operations here in Saskatchewan where we grow commodities that you eat, such as cereals, pulses, oil seeds, and beef. But why? Why do we eat beef, Quick Dick? Well, not only is it delicious, but beef is a dense source of protein, zinc, iron, multiple B vitamins, and thirdly, it doesn't have a list of ingredients that you see in something like Beyond Meat like this that I can't even pronounce. Beef has one.
This is one of the major points that we want to make, is that this go green phenomenon agenda is this whole like meatless concept and this vegan thing. Now look, if you're plant-based, that's great. We're largely plant-based. But the reality is to get a full spectrum food of everything that your body needs. It is our opinion, after being completely plant-based for a while, that it's absolutely necessary to be more of a nutrivore and have these different meat-based forms of nutrition, because of all that they offer that plant-based diets just cannot offer without very heavy supplementation. And once again, we're talking about sustainability and viability, and heavy supplementation is not sustainable or viable. And I like the fact that this guy is pointing that out, about why meat is so important as a nutrition source.
Cattle. Now, cattle aren't just an essential source of protein for our global food supply. They also actually play a critical role here in maintaining our environment. Let me explain. Let's pretend this butcher paper, you know, the stuff we use to wrap delicious beef with, is roughly the square kilometers that represent the surface of the planet Earth, this place where we live, okay? Now let's take planet Earth and fold it in half, and then we are going to fold planet Earth in half once again. That gives us this, which represents all of the land on planet Earth. So then we take all of the land on Earth, we fold it in half, and then we fold it in half again. And that leaves us with this, the amount of land we have available on Earth for agriculture that we use to grow food for all of us to eat.
What's really neat is I love his visual illustrations. It's very impactful, and if you're not smart like I am, I mean, it really just puts it in a visual form.
Very, very simple.
Yeah, and the guy's entertaining. I like it.
Geez, that's not a lot of land to feed 7.7 billion people off of, Quick Dick. But wait, there's more. We have to take that land and we have to split it into about 1/3, 2/3, giving us two different kinds of land. We have arable land and we have marginal land.
So of the very small amount in the grand scheme of things of farmland that's available, 2/3 of that available land is marginal. And this is what makes cows and other type of herbivores and grazing stock so important, not just important, but critical to the food infrastructure. And the other thing that happens in this whole, with all these talking points and this green thing and sustainability, there's all this Malthusian concepts of unsustainable, this overpopulated and unsustainable thing because there's almost 8 billion people, and how are we going to feed 8 billion people without fertilizer? So what that does is it creates this impossible problem, right? So it freezes you with fear. And it's kind of interesting because in these videos we get accused of like fear mongering, even though we're just pointing out reality.
This is reality.
Somehow pointing out facts and reality and what's going on is fear mongering, while we are trying to offer solutions. And I mean, our channel is the solutions that we have chosen as a family to implement for ourselves, and not everybody can do that, okay?
No, of course
and
not.
we're not trying to, no individual person or family can give someone or anyone or everyone a solution. There is no the perfect diet. There is no perfect pill.
No.
There is no perfect absolute one-size-fits-all solution for everybody. And that, I think that's another very critical point. But that being said, rather than dealing with this big, ominous terror impossibility out here, what we're talking about is, well, this is what we're actually doing to address these issues.
Yeah.
And we live our life in such a way, and we make decisions every day, and we do things every day. We move 1,400 miles out of our comfort zone to a place where we literally didn't know anyone, right? To implement a lifestyle that we were completely unexposed to, and largely in part to YouTube and these kind of platforms. We watched videos, we educated ourselves, we saw other people doing it, and they're like, wow, well, if they can do it, I mean, at least we can try to do it, right? Maybe their stuff is all curated, and maybe it's all fake, and it's like filters and Instagram perfect, right? And so maybe this is all a psyop. I thought it was so funny because we had somebody send us a link to a YouTube video, and this fellow that raises grass-fed beef that was raided by the feds saw Doug and Stacy's video about Amos Miller and said that it was a psyop, and that Doug was this guy pretending to be Amish, and he obviously just didn't watch any of his channel or whatever. And I thought that was very humorous and hilarious. And I told Doug, you know, you made it in the big time when they think that you're like a CIA asset. I don't know. But this is all part of this whole kind of disinfo GovBot thing. You'll see lots of interesting GovBot comments in the comments down below, even probably this video.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too. I mean, when he puts it, I mean, he's putting it very simple, how little farmland we even have. And that is why they are pushing so hard to buy it all up.
Make it so that we can't grow food.
Exactly.
But quick, Dick, what's the difference? Well, this is arable land, which means it's land that's suitable to farm conventional crops on, like cereals, pulses, oilseeds. Not only that, but it's an essential place for migrating birds to land in the fall and feed on their way south. And
so this aerial land that is 1/3 of all farmable land in the world, he won't talk about it in this video, actually talks about it in another video, with all these other government regulations with ethanol, which is corn-based, and these other oil-based initiatives when it comes to diesel and GMO soy and GMO corn. Those government mandates are utilizing these food products, right, that are literally being extracted from the food supply to meet other bogus government initiatives, making the food supply even scarcer and smaller. So we continue to see this agenda is control the food, shrink the food, create the crisis, create the shortage. Why do we have an energy scarcity and energy shortage? Well, because we're making more energy with solar and wind. These completely inefficient and unattainable energy sources.
Tell them about the windmills.
Yeah, and there was an article that came out this week in a supposed, credible news source thing.
So great, it's gonna be awesome.
Talking about recycling windmill blades into gummy bears.
So now we can eat the windmills.
And feed them to you. So I was worried about being forced to eat crickets and black soldier fly larvae. And now they're going to try to feed us windmill blades,
like fiberglass.
Yeah, since they bury them in the ground and they don't ever biodegrade.
They don't.
And they're there for absolutely ever.
This is marginal land. It's land that we can't farm. There's maybe too many trees, maybe too many flues or too many rocks, but do you know what we can grow on it? Cattle. And cattle graze in a herd. Now think of it like mowing your lawn. If you don't mow your lawn for an extended period of time, eventually it grows really, really tall and it'll die. That big dead canopy makes it almost impossible for new grass to grow. And if grass isn't growing, it's not eating as much food. Can anybody tell Quick Dick what grass eats for food? CO2.
CO2. And that's why we made the shirt, We Are the CO2. Because the CO2 agenda, the net zero agenda, is all about eliminating the CO2.
And on top of that, it's almost like cows were created to manage, grass and prairie land.
It's
and stuff
so
like that.
interesting.
It's almost like somebody created
how
them for
God's
that,
creation and how mankind was created to interact with herbivores, and these herbivores were designed because guess what humans can't eat? Grass. Our stomachs cannot digest grass, but cows and bison and these different herbivores can not only digest grass, but they can take it and convert it into a nutrient-dense, nutrient-packed, vitamin-rich food source.
One ingredient, not a million.
And then not only do they do that, not only do they produce this incredible food source, they then naturally poop out waste that is this super magical substance that helps food to grow.
No way.
It almost looks like this perfect cycle of life.
Like a circle.
It's very interesting how it almost seems like there's a creator that created it that way. And they all work harmoniously together to produce life and vitality and abundance.
You know what else can happen if we don't keep our marginal lands healthy like this using cattle? A big ugly release of carbon, which also poses a threat to local wildlife that we have around here by destroying their habitat. But if these beautiful creatures come through in a herd, they keep that canopy off the top of our marginal land so that the grass can continue to grow. It turns marginal land into land that we can utilize to contribute to the global food supply, along with keeping a healthy habitat for wildlife that make up crucial prairie ecosystems out here, and it acts like a massive carbon sink. So you see, cattle do a lot of things to help us manage our prairie marginal land here in Saskatchewan. And you're saying, well, Quick Dick, can cattle stay out on this land all winter? Well, no. Actually, winter can get pretty cold here in Saskatchewan. Woo! She is windy today! Ugh. So we grow a ration of feed here on a portion of our arable land that we chop into silage to feed through the winter months. Now along with silage, we grow feed barley out here because when it drops to -40 out here on the prairies, our cattle need extra energy to be able to stand up to the terrible environment that comes along with winter here in Saskatchewan. So when winter starts to set in, we'll move them back here to the feedlot where they've got ample shelter and water. But before they calve, we'll feed them out here so their manure is naturally spread back onto the arable land that we use to grow their feed rations.
See, so we're not talking about CAFOs, we're not talking about massive feedlots,
No.
concrete jungles where they crap on concrete and it's a stinking toxic waste slurry, right? And this gentleman is actually a larger type of farmer and producer, and he is clearly illustrating that even larger, I would say slightly more commercial industrial farmer. I think if you ask him, I don't think he would necessarily say that he's a regenerative agricultural farmer, but even larger scale type farmers are implementing more regen ag principles because one, they work, two, they take less inputs, which is less money flowing in, and they produce more, which actually increases profit margin.
Cattle are like a big walking compost machine that produce beef as a result. Now when it gets really cold out, we'll take the straw from our feed barley and sometimes from our oat crops or even some of our cash crops like wheat, and we'll use it as bedding here in the feedlot to keep them warm throughout the winter when it's really cold. So after the girls calve and we turn them back out to their lawnmower jobs on the marginal land, we clean out the feedlot and bring the manure out here and spread it on our arable land as a part of our soil health and fertilizer programs. Pretty neat how cattle help out our grain operation, hey? Want to see what else they can do? So if you take the odd year like this one, for example, where we had quite a bit of hail damage throughout the growing season, and now we've got a nice late fall, we've got a producer's worst nightmare here, second growth. Now, most guys that grow crops don't have much of an option but to use a glyphosate or a different chemical here. But we use cows on some of our fields that we have fenced that turn that pain in the butt second growth into not only protein that we can eat, but they turn it into organic fertilizer.
And this is the point about herbivores and working in concert with them and absolutely quintessentially needing them. Not be, you know, it's like people watch Larry's video about the cows and go vegan, and that's why I don't eat meat, and y'all should go vegan, and y'all are gonna die because you eat meat and the planet's gonna die and all that stuff. They absolutely, one, they're eating tofu and soy and all that stuff.
AKA go synthetic.
It's just like all these vegan people that'll eat Oreo cookies and all that stuff. I'm like, this Oreo cookie is vegan. It's more than vegan. It's a toxic cesspool of chemicals. But a lot of these plant-based and vegan comments, they are completely lost on the fact that we absolutely need animals to produce more food. Same thing with all these Malthusian fatalists that overpopulation and the sky is falling. Buckminster Fuller absolutely completely refuted and destroyed Malthus and all this Malthusian growth curves, and he explained how technology and an ancient technology like regenerative agriculture and using the cycle of systems and improving systems and observing systems and fringes and all these different things exponentially increase the output so that these false fake P-mine curves don't have to become a reality. Just like this green, talk about doom and gloom. How about if we don't do anything about climate change, we're all going to die in, which it was 12 years, and now it's 10 years, okay? And we are all going to die in 10 years because they're going to tax us to death, okay?
Ew. What about a completely hailed out pulse crop like what you see right here? Well, some people might see disaster, but if you have cattle, you see solution, where you turn it into feed and let the cattle turn it into organic fertilizer.
This is one of the main tenets of permaculture. The problem is the solution.
Bingo.
And this is why we need to work with the animals and have the animals.
And a source of protein for us. What about a hailed out oat crop that you can't combine? Let the cows turn it into protein. Think about crop rotations too. Now, this crop was previously canola. It's been underseeded to a forage legume like alfalfa. Farmers will use alfalfa in their crop rotation, not only to naturally mitigate disease and weed problems, but also to naturally return nitrogen into their soil. Now, you take all those benefits, plus the fact that alfalfa is very effective at storing carbon in the soil. It's also a source of nutrition for cattle to eat in the wintertime. Okay, well, what about beer? And you're thinking, well, quick, Dick, you can't feed cattle beer. Well, of course you can't, but when breweries are done with the barley after they extract everything they need from it to make beer, whatever's left over gets fed to cattle. Same thing with biofuels that are produced right here in Foam Lake. After the extraction process, the meal that's left over can be fed to cattle. So what about screenings that are left over after we clean the seed that we're gonna use to plant our next crop with? Gets fed to cattle. So cattle maintain natural ecosystems that sequester carbon. They work together with agriculture, fertilizer, and soil health practices, help support crop rotations, eliminate food waste after extraction processes, and what we get in return are delicious steaks, burgers, hot dogs, briskets, and roasts. Sounds like a delicious way to help the environment. I hope you see the importance of beef, my friends, and I hope you don't use just October to celebrate eggs. I hope you do it all year long. This is Quick Dick McDick signing off, reminding you, if you want to keep your environment healthy and great, next time you make a meal, make sure to put some beef on your plate. We'll catch you next time.
So you can obviously see that not only is cattle quintessential to growing more food, it's not like there's no type of unicorn or rainbow that can magically give us some type of plant-based. You cannot reduce the food supply and the options and the types of food and expect to feed a growing population. One. Two, when you see that synergistically the beef food supply actually enables you and exponentially expands the capability and possibility of growing more plant-based food items, you quickly see that cows are part of the solution and not part of the problem. Now, what is part of the problem is government mandates and regulations. And what is part of the problem and is polluting the environment are ethanol-based fuels. And actually, non-ethanol-based fuels produce less pollution than ethanol-based fuels do. Okay, and it's the same thing with these other oil-based supplements and using GMO soy in these other types of mandated biodiesels and what have you, where you're consuming arable farmland to produce these non-edible food-based substances that go into gasoline and biodiesel, continuing to, one, shrink the land that's available to actually grow food, to grow something for some government failure, which speaks directly to the subsidies given to farmers that actually makes all of that stuff even possible. If it wasn't for government subsidies, ethanol would not exist. If it wasn't for government subsidies, solar, one, would be incredibly much more cost effective, because the government subsidies actually drive the price through the roof because the government wants to print a bunch of money and then, throw it out into the ether, and it's just supposed to magically disappear or whatever. But what do you think, Matt? You got anything else?
Well, the other thing is, too, on top of that, why the government absolutely loves the idea of throwing all the beef cows away and starting to create this really fake beef or meat, the Wonder Burger or whatever, is because Hillbilly Bob up the road can't make that. he doesn't have his own factory. Only a couple factories in the world, or maybe 1 or 2 producers will be able to produce this beef.
Like disgusting chemical factories that
disgusting.
make like polyethylene glycol, and then they're going to squeeze out your Vego burger.
And then they're gonna somehow like take a windmill and crunch it down into a gummy bear and feed it to us.
Oh, thank you, technocratic oligarchy.
Go vegan.
Oh, my fiberglass gummy bear is completely vegan. Yummy.
Oh dear me.
It's hamburger flavored. All right, Matt, is that all you got?
Yep, that is it.
All right, y'all. Well, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe. If you like it, please like and share and subscribe. If you don't like it, please go away. Hey, we can have a civil discussion in the comments. Comment down below. Tell us what you think.
Go check out the new t-shirts.
Check out the new t-shirts and
Go green, compost a globalist, and we are the CO2.
Go green, compost a globalist. Thank you, David the Good.
Boom, boom.
We'll see y'all in the next video.
Bye-bye.